So, guys, uh, today's discussion is on this unicompartmental osteoarthritis of the knee. What I mean by unicompartmental, it could either be a patellofemoral arthritis, or it could be a medial or a lateral compartment of the knee that could be arthritic. Okay, so I'm not keeping this patellofemoral arthritis for this session because it will be too much. Although there's something like patellofemoral arthroplasty also that exists. So today's discussion will be, managing this medial and lateral compartment isolated arthritis, that even if a single compartment is involved, medial compartment or lateral compartment, how to handle that case. Okay. So here I'm going to discuss the three very popular surgical options you already know. One is the high tibial osteotomy. One is the proximal fibular osteotomy. And of course, I'll move ahead from the osteotomies to a unicondylar knee arthroplasty, changing a single compartment. So दोनों पे चलेंगे step by step. So let me first start with this high tibial osteotomy, the basics, the principles. Okay. So high tibial osteotomy, this was first introduced by this person Jackson Vogue, somewhere in 1960s, 61. But I think you all know the name of this person, Conventry. He's mainly responsible for popularizing this up somewhere from 1965 onwards. So it's a time-tested modality. You know the biomechanical goal. So this is that varus at the knee. So you cut the proximal tibia and then you straighten the alignment. Okay. So you offload the medial compartment by correcting the alignment. What you achieve clinically, you transfer the weight to the other compartment so the pain is gone. And of course, since pain is gone, you delay the need for a total knee replacement. Some people who are good with osteo, they say that you never need a total knee replacement. Even that theory is there in the market. Whatever, this is something you already understand. I'll be taking you beyond it as far as the osteo is concerned. So first of all, the indications of osteo. You do it when varus malalignment is there along with osteoarthritis. Okay, in a case with a primary varus, to reduce that pain, delay the degenerativeness, delay the need for a TKR, as we have just discussed. Okay, and what is meant by this varus malalignment? I have to be very clear. Center of the femoral head, center of the ankle. So what I've drawn over here is that mechanical axis. This generally passes somewhere in the center of the knee. Okay. Now, this is the total tibia here. Okay, so this axis is passing somewhere in the center of the knee. If it will be varus, the axis will go medially. So when the axis goes medially and it crosses this 50% width onto the medial side, that means the knee has gone into varus. And that means you can plan up a high tibial osteotomy. So varus is essential to plan this procedure. Now, it's not just meant for an osteoarthritis. I'm discussing it under the treatment of osteoarthritis, but there are many other indications for osteo also. Like it can also be used to correct that load imbalance that you may have in a double or a triple varus knee. So mind you, primary varus, double varus, triple varus. So some terms I've been using. Anyone who can answer me, what is double varus? What is triple varus? Yes? You can unmute and answer. Anyone? Okay. Anush, you are there?
Yes, sir, I'm there, sir.
So may I ask you what is double varus versus triple varus? Have you heard these terms?
No, sir.
Okay, I'll introduce to you. All right. So varus is basically categorized into three forms: primary varus, and then you have something called a double varus and a triple varus. Primary varus is what we've been just talking of in osteoarthritis. Osteocartilaginous narrowing is there because there is some bone attrition, there is some cartilage gone. That is what is primary varus. That is because of osteoarthritis. But please just understand, varus can result from things other than osteoarthritis. Like you can have separation of this lateral compartment because the posterior lateral ligaments, they are missing. Posterior lateral corner injury. It could be that these structures are stretched or partially injured, or it could be that these structures are completely injured. So then this opening will increase beyond 15 mm. Normally that opening is less than 5 mm. It is between 5 to 15, it is double varus, means lateral compartment structures are lax. and that opening is beyond 15 mm, that means lateral structures are totally gone. Now, even when these lateral structures would be gone, you walk with a varus thrust gait. You keep your foot, it sags into varus because these lateral structures are opening up. So basically, double varus and triple varus, these are the varuses that are associated with ligament injury cases, especially the posterolateral corner ligament injury cases. So that is where we use these terms. So here also there's a role of STO. And in fact, STO is done first. Because many times when you correct the alignment, take the knee into valgus, these lateral structures don't open up. Because now you place the foot in valgus and lateral compartment automatically gets compressed. So you just do the STO in these cases. You may do a ligament reconstruction posterolateral corner later if required, but minimum after 9 months of STO. That is the recommendation. Okay, so here in chronic PLC injuries, where you find this double triple varus, here also to correct that varus thrust gait, there is a role of STO. So in OA, you have primary varus. This is one indication. Then chronic PLC deficiency, which is going to produce a double or triple varus, that is another indication. Then apart from it, sometimes you plan a cartilage procedure, a meniscal transplant, something like this. So here also, because these things are gone, so there's a varus alignment. To correct the alignment, STO has a role. And then off late, tibial slope can also be modified with this high tibial osteotomy. So of late, a high tibial slope has been associated with recurrent ACL injuries. Just understand. This is the femur and this is the tibia. So if this slope goes high, you can very well imagine that this femur will slip back on the tibia. So high slope will give a posterior push to the femur and tibia will go anteriorly and strain the ACL. So some people say that a higher slope ruptures the ACL. So when you find the slope is more than 15 degrees, sometimes you use this STO in connection with an ACL reconstruction, okay? And people who have that excessive hyperextension at the gate, they're also try to decrease the tibial slope to decrease that hyperextension. So these are some additional indications for which an STO will be used. So STO has indications far beyond a simple osteoarthritis. In osteoarthritis, it has an indication when a varus malalignment is associated with osteoarthritis. Now, if you plan to do STO, here we are basically dealing with unicompartmental osteoarthritis indication. So if you plan to do STO, the techniques in the market, you can either go with that lateral closing wedge technique, lateral side pe wedge close kar do to correct the alignment, or you can go with the medial opening wedge technique, open the wedge medially to correct the alignment. The original technique described by Conventry when he popularized this was the closing wedge technique. Then Hernigu et al. Introduced the medial opening wedge technique. So these have been the standard techniques. But the problem with these techniques, so if you have to go with the lateral closing wedge, you have to osteotomize the fibula. That is one challenge. You have the peroneal nerve in that area. So you have to save it. Then problem is that with these wedges, you can just go to a correction of up to 20 degrees. So you cannot have large correction angles because there's only an amount of a wedge that can be resected, not beyond. Then there'll be some changes in tibial slope also, as I told you, as you do the STO. So this is not the problem with these techniques. And there'll be changes in patellar height also. Like just understand, if you open this wedge up, the tibial tubercle will move down. It will pull the patella down. So when you open the wedge, patella comes down, you create patella bar. But when you close the wedge, tubercle moves proximally. So that leads to patella alta. So changes in patellar height are also part and parcel of STO. So these techniques had these limitations. Lateral wale mein, that fibula was a problem, use kaatna padega. And then, both these you have limited correction available. Then you will always have some changes in tibial slope and patellar height. I'll discuss them in detail also in a while. Okay, so this is what pushed to the need for some other techniques apart from the standard techniques. So the options that came up, one was the dual plane osteotomy, a dome osteotomy by McQuaid, and then a medial opening wedge osteotomy, but in a manner where you can lead to progressive callus distraction. So this is based on the Lizarow principle, distraction histogenesis, where you slowly distract the medial side. So here the advantage comes large amounts of correction because you can distract to any level. So you can go far beyond 20 degrees. So these techniques came up to overcome the shortcomings with the standard techniques, a medial opening wedge or a lateral closing wedge. So just showing you a picture about it each. So this is a dual plane STO. Okay. So here you can control the changes in the tibial slope in the way which you want. Okay. So I've done this osteotomy here, open top. But here, this osteotomy in this lateral plane is cut like this, above or below, depending upon where you want to keep this patellar tendon with the proximal fragment or with the distal fragment. And then you can open this up, this fragment. You can also twist this fragment up and down to correct the tibial slope as you want. So here you have osteotomy in these two planes. So this osteotomy will give you that medial or lateral opening wedge. And this part will give you that change in the tibial slope. Okay, both modifications are there. The problem is that when you keep this with the distal fragment, sometimes people end up with knee pain. So this is the more preferred modification where you leave this tubercle with the proximal fragment only. Here incidence of knee pain is less. Okay, so these are the dual plane techniques. Then the dome osteotomy, you all know, Macquet. You drill holes like this, you cut the bone like this, and then you insert two wires. And with these wires, you twist the two fragments. Okay. So this is a technique that is going to achieve no change in patellar height. Okay. And then it will allow large degrees of correction also. So you can see the standard technique, patellar height ke changes nahi aayenge, correction zyada aa jayegi. So some advantages over the standard techniques. And then no graft is required. An opening wedge would require a graft. Then there's a chevron variant also in this technique, cut in the shape of V, and then you manipulate the V to achieve the fragment. So dome osteotomy, very difficult, cutting like a dome and then rotating and fixing, not easy. Then after this is that progressive scaleless distraction technique. You open the wedge medially, but you put up a fixator distractor like a Jess fixator, and then you slowly distract here to achieve the required amount of correction. So here also you can have large degrees of correction. You can go beyond 20 degrees, which is the cutoff limit for opening or a closing wedge. Okay. And here you can even perform an osteotomy distal to the tibial tubercle. So this means no problem with that patellar height because you have performed an osteotomy below the tubercle, because conventionally you perform the osteotomy above the tubercle because you have to cut in the most cancellous part of the bone in a normal standard open wedge technique or a closed wedge technique. So here union will never be an issue because you're going with distraction histogenesis. So you can go distal to tubercle. So you can, overcome those disadvantages of the standard techniques. But again, the problem, that external fixator, that discomfort, it's very troublesome, keeping it for months. So again, not a popular technique. So eventually the world again narrows down to the two conventional techniques, the medial opening wedge and the lateral closing wedge. So either you open this wedge or, you take a wedge laterally and close it to correct the varus. And ये techniques most commonly abhi bhi use होती है. Now, out of the two, the winner is actually the medial opening wedge. And in fact, I'll be describing the technique of medial opening wedge because this has a lot of advantages over the lateral closing wedge. So when you open up this wedge medially to correct varus, you need no lateral dissection, no fibular osteotomy. So, CPN is very well protected. You don't end up injuring the common peroneal nerve in any sense. Okay. Then sparing the fibula means you can always do that PCL reconstruction, PLC reconstruction. So I told you that you can sometimes do STO for a double or a triple varus knee. That means a ligament injury is there. So you might require a ligament reconstruction later on if there's instability. So when you leave the fibula as it is, that PLC reconstruction is not hampered later. And then sometimes, these are ligament injury knees and MCL is also deficient. So you're given that incision medially in medial opening wedge. So you can simultaneously advance or repair the MCL also. And then, cases of patella aorta will benefit if that is present when you do a medial opening wedge. Okay. तो बहुत सारे cases में ना medial opening wedge फायदा ही देती है. The disadvantage is a graft, but not really a disadvantage because everyone agrees to that small chip from iliac crest. Okay. Non-union is obviously a risk, but nicely done STO with graft in the metaphyseal area of tibia almost always unites. Non-union is particularly a risk in people who are nicotine smokers. So that is where this medial opening wedge technique is strictly contraindicated. Smoker hai, then you have to go with the lateral opening wedge. Okay, the peroneal nerve might be damaged here. Yeah, the incidence is 2 to 16%. So fibular shaft osteotomy is almost a rule because this 15% incidence will be high for a peroneal nerve palsy. So you must osteotomize the fibula in a lateral closing wedge, and this is done around 15 centimeters distal to the fibular head. So fibular head say around 15 centimeters distally. Somewhere here you will end up osteotomizing the fibula if you're doing a lateral closing wedge. Fine enough. So I'll be describing all about STO by the medial opening wedge technique, because to at least in arthroscopic surgeon, this makes sense. You do it for an ONE also. You do it for the double triple varus where a PLC might be required. So हर जगह ये fit बैठती है, at least to a person who repairs the ligaments also. So get set to understand the medial opening wedge technique. Okay. Now HTO is a knee preservation surgery. You're trying to delay a TCAP. So you have to identify the perfect candidate because it is going to have limited indications. So first of all, never done when the age crosses 60. We opt for a replacement only. Mild to moderate OA should be there. It should not be severe OA. So what I mean by this, so low grade OA, we generally use the Albach classification or Calgren-Lovis classification. So by Albach, it means grade 1 or 2. So this is the Albach classification that was given somewhere in 1968 by Albach. So you can have joint space that is narrow. That would be less than 3 mm because normally joint space is 4 mm, more than 3 mm. It could be almost joint split obliteration, but there should not be bone attrition. अगर medial compartment में bone का attrition आ गया है, तो STO should not be done. Thinned but not totally absent cartilage, so that rim of cartilage has to be there on the medial side. So you have to be less than grade 3, grade 1 or grade 2. Very important. Active lifestyle has to be there with the patient. That is the only reason of doing a knee sparing surgery. Then the person should not be obese. Now, obese has been defined very, very strictly in the criteria. One is that BMI has to be less than 30. That is something you can always calculate. And if you go by in terms of the body weight, most of the English literature says less than 200 pounds, which means less than 90 kg. So you can go with STO up to a weight of 90 kg in a person. Clear? But yes, the most important point about this ideal candidate, that no one should be having the contraindications to doing this surgery, knee preservation surgery. So I'll take you through the contraindications of STO also. This is the most important part. So first of all, of course, old age will become contraindication because I told you, go for replacement. Then people who have no joint space in the medial compartment on a Rosenberg view. So Rosenberg view is you click a standing anterior posterior X-ray of the knee, and the flexion of the knee is 45 degrees. This is the Rosen view. Rosenberg view best shows you the knee cartilage. So here you can see there's absolutely no space. Avoid ST because there's no medial cartilage. Now, this is something picked up on MRI. You see the tibiofemoral compartment on MRI. You find there are bone cartilage defects more than 1.5 centimeter by 1.5 centimeter, 15 mm by 15 mm. तो exposed bone का area बहुत ज़्यादा है, तो भी नहीं STO करनी MRI पे. Then, if you find a major concavity of the medial tibial plateau, like medial tibial plateau is concave like this, इस तरह, ये concavity मिल गई है, तो भी STO नहीं करनी. Because here what you get is the teeter-totter effect. Teeter-totter effect. Teeter-totter. Anyone who can tell me what is teeter-totter effect? Or what is the teeter-totter knee? Yes? Anyone? Okay. Nishant, you're there. Nishant, I hope you are there and you can listen to me. So you'll just have to unmute yourself, Nishant. I think he's not been able to listen to me. Okay, I think Vivek is there. Vivek, can I ask you? No negative marking. Yes, Vivek? Yes. Yes, Vivek. What is a teeter-totter knee?
No idea, sir. I have.
Okay, no problem. I'll tell you. No negative marking in my class. It's just a discussion. I'll tell you. So this is the teeter-totter effect. Kettle Camp, he described this teeter-totter effect somewhere in 1975. And he mentioned this is absolute contraindication to do this high tibial osteotomy. Now just understand, Suppose there's a concavity here and you have done this STO to correct that alignment. So as you will walk, you have corrected the alignment. So patient will put weight here, and because of a concavity here, when he walks, the knee wobbles here and there. So this is teeter totter. कि knees defect में भी wobble करेगा और knee lateral side पे भी wobble करेगा. Okay, so excessive bone loss on the medial side, that concavity on the medial tibial plateau will prohibit a simultaneous weight bearing on both plateaus. Okay, तो यहाँ पे एक defect आ गया like this. So now when you walk, there are two cavities. So there cannot be simultaneous weight bearing. अब वो teetering tottering आ जाएगी. This is teeter totter effect given by Castle-Camp. Okay, so this is again a contraindication, that concavity on the tibial plateau. Then if you find a tibial subluxation, like many knee x-rays you find that there is a tibial subluxation, like see here. So when you find the subluxation also to be more than 1 centimeters, avoid doing an STO. Increased slope of the tibial plateau beyond 10 degrees. Again, here you can do an STO. It's not a strict contraindication, but avoid. Why? High slope means strain on ACL. And ACL has to be intact for an STO to function. क्योंकि ACL नहीं होगा, दूसरा compartment भी खराब हो जाएगा. Eventually, no point of doing a preservation surgery. So here the tibial slope, either it has to be modified during the osteotomy by the dual plane method, or you don't do the STO. Okay, then symptomatic advanced patellofemoral arthrosis. Now here the word advanced is not important. Generally सब में advanced patellofemoral arthrosis होता है. जब एक compartment medial या lateral जाता है तो patellofemoral पहले चला जाता है, because patellofemoral arthritis predominates. But yes, the word here is symptomatic. So I'm just reading a line to you from a very nice article. The finding of asymptomatic cartilage changes in patellofemoral joint, they are not a contraindication for STO, because what the clinicians have noted, that the end result of longevity of STO depends upon the symptomatic medial femoral compartment. So basically, अगर patellofemoral compartment में advanced changes भी हैं और patient symptomatic उनके लिए नहीं है, you can leave. What I mean by that, कई बार rest pain हो रही है, getting up from chair pain हो रही है, so that is patellofemoral pain. So that is not there. You can do the STO. Of course, knee flexion has to be good and there has to be no flexion contracture. ACL has to be intact. So ये radiological parameters हैं, ये clinical parameters हैं. And these are some of the history parameters कि कोई lateral compartment में पुराना damage नहीं है from any cause, nicotine products नहीं ले रहे, healing problems आएंगी, करना भी है तो closing wedge, okay, obese नहीं है patient और prior joint infection, diabetes, RA, इस तरह की disease नहीं है, because RA can involve the other compartment also and then there will be problems. So once you have taken care of these factors, you can now go ahead with the STO. Anuj wants me to explain the teeter totter effect again. I'll explain to you. So Anuj, if you have a concavity on the tibial plateau, so suppose this much of bone is not there. Okay, so there's a bone loss on the tibial plateau. You do this STO and you correct the alignment. Now you cannot have simultaneous weight bearing here. Okay. So knee sometimes, dips on this plateau as you walk. And then when you step further, the knee dips on the other plateau also. So when you walk, the knee dips into both plateaus one by one. And this is what creates the teeter-totter effect. So when you are expecting a teeter-totter effect, because there's a concavity on the medial tibial plateau, avoid doing a high tibial osteotomy. Clear, Anuj? What is teeter-totter effect? Yeah. तो ये कुछ कॉन्ट्राइंडिकेशन जब तुम देख लो तो एसटीओ प्लान कर सकते हो. नाउ व्हेन यू आर प्लानिंग एन एसटीओ, गेट अ स्कैनोग्राम डन इन द स्टैंडिंग पोजीशन, डबल स्टैंस फेस में, वो हिप नी एंकल पूरा एक्सरे करवा लो. पटेलर हाइट हैज टू बी मेजर्ड बिकॉज पटेलर हाइट विल चेंज विद एसटीओ. सो वो 30 डिग्री फ्लेक्शन वाले लैटरल व्यूज होंगे जिसमें पटेलर हाइट कैलकुलेट करते हैं. यू हैव टू गेट दैट रोजनबर्ग व्यू 45 डिग्री नी फ्लेक्शन वाला. This is that Rosenberg view, because you have to see कि absolutely zero cartilage now medial side पे. You have to get a patellofemoral axial view also to see the patellar alignment, and then you should also get the stress views to see the amount of that lateral opening. Ideally, even better than the stress views that you get on a 16.7 Newton force, the best is to have that arthroscopic gap with that probe compartment का, कि lateral compartment का कितना gap है, because we often do it for that lateral opening, double varus, triple varus also, तो वो भी measure करना है, ये कराना है. MRI करानी है ACL देखने के लिए, cartilage loss देखने के लिए, और आर्थ्रोस्कोपी हो सके तो करानी है. It is advised that you should be first doing an arthroscopy and then an STO, but this is by and large a subjective thing. No patient agrees actually in the clinical practice, but guidelines में है. So these are the list of the investigations that you require in your pre-op plan. Okay, before you proceed to the STO, I hope everything self-explains itself. इस पे टाइम नहीं वेस्ट करेंगे, आगे चलेंगे. और आगे मोटी चीज कि हमने स्कैनोग्राम करा लिया. Now from that you have to calculate that correction angle कि कितना करेक्ट करना है. All right. So this is that traditional formula. I'm a student of Dr. Magoo, you know him well. So this was his technique. I did many times for him. So what you basically do is you cut this scanogram like this, and then you bring this cut portion to get the desired valgus angle, and then you measure this alpha angle. So this is that correction angle you will require in drop. So this is a simple one method, but this is too simple to be used in life. Okay, so we have gone digital. So what are the better methods to calculate the wedge angle? Now before that, let me explain to you the level of the cuts in an HTO. Now if you talk of this medial open wedge technique, you have to open up this wedge medially. Okay, so your osteotomy line from this medial joint line, it will be down here, and it will be down by around 3.5 to 4 centimeters. Okay, and when you start here, 3.5 to 4 centimeters here, you have to be proximal to the tibial tubercle. You will always be, because you will aim towards the tip of the fibular head. So that is where you create this osteotomy. Okay, and then you of course create another line depending on the amount of wedge to be removed. Okay, but yeah, this is opening wedge, so you open it up down. But osteotomy line तो मैं समझ में आ गया कि यहाँ से 3.5 to 4 centimeters इस distance पे शुरू करनी है, and you have to go to the tip of the fibula. Clear? And once you open it up, how much you have to open alpha angle, I will just tell you. Okay, so here you start osteotomy on the medial side, 3.5 to 4 centimeters down, and you aim your osteotomy line to the tip of the fibula. So I have started here. मैंने थोड़ा सा गलत वो मार्क कर दिया है. So from here, this is 3.5 centimeter. And then I've opened the wedge. So this is that open wedge वाला line. Okay, and this is that alpha angle, that angle of correction. मैं अभी बताऊंगा कैसे कैलकुलेट करना है. So medial opening wedge from the medial side 4 centimeters down, 3.5 to 4 centimeters down you start. Now if you plan to do the lateral closing wedge, so here your osteotomy lines have to be 2 osteotomy lines, because you have to take out a wedge and then close. So what are those 2 osteotomies you do here, क्योंकि 2 बार कट करना पड़ेगा. तो proximal osteotomy line जो होती है ये वाली, ये पैरेलल टू आर्टिकुलर सरफेस होती है, प्रॉक्सिमल वाला. जो डिस्टल osteotomy लाइन होती है, दैट इज डिटरमिन्ड बाय दिस अल्फा एंगल, कि कितना हमें करेक्शन एंगल रखना है. प्रॉक्सिमल osteotomy लाइन विल बी 2 to 2.5 सेंटीमीटर्स डाउन फ्रॉम दिस जॉइंट. तो यहाँ जॉइंट लाइन से 2 to 2.5 सेंटीमीटर्स नीचे जाना है लेटरल साइड पे, पर मीडियल साइड पे 3.5 to 4 सेंटीमीटर्स नीचे जाना है. सो मीडियल ओपनिंग वेज यू स्टार्ट लिटिल डाउन, lateral opening wedge you start a little up, middle opening wedge you go up, remaining proximal to the tibial tubercle, going aiming the head of fibula, and lateral one you go straight with the first osteotomy line that is parallel to the articular surface, and then lower cut will depend upon how much alpha angle you want to achieve. I told you now that you can only go up to 20 degree, क्योंकि 20 डिग्री से जब इसे नीचे लेना शुरू कर दोगे ना तो tibial tubercle कटना शुरू हो जाएगा, patellar tendon जाना शुरू हो जाएगा. So these osteotomies up to 20 degrees you can. Now, how to calculate the angle? Very simple. Get your scanogram done and draw the mechanical axis. And since the knee is in varus, that is perhaps for which you have taken the STO, this line will be medial to this center. Okay. Now, Dugdale et al. Have advised that the weight-bearing line should pass through 62.5% coordinate of the tibial width once the HTO is done. So this is the tibial width. I'll mark the 2 points. Okay. Somewhere here would be the center. So you can see I'm little lateral to the center because from here I am lateral by 62.5%. तो अगर मैं इसे 100 मान लूं तो जहां पे 62.5 आएगा मैं वहां पे एक पॉइंट मार्क करूंगा. नाउ आई विल ड्रॉ a line from the center of the head to this point. I will draw a line from the center of the ankle to this point. So this angle that has been generated here, this is that alpha angle, the angle of correction. Clear? And this angle of correction, this alpha angle, should be the angle that should be there at this posterior medial tibial cortex. ये उस जगह का एंगल है, करेक्शन एंगल, that you have to achieve eventually. So I hope you guys are clear how to calculate the correction angle. You get that scanogram done with knee flex 3 to 5 degrees. Draw the mechanical axis. Mark that 62.5% coordinate on the tibia towards the lateral side. Connect these lines, and that this will be the angle of correction. And whatever angle of correction you have achieved, you have to maintain that angle of correction at the posterior medial tibial cortex. This is the recommendation by Dugdale et al. There are some other formulas also. That is the most popular formula. This is a modified Koshinu formula also. तो ये क्या करता है कि width at the osteotomy base बता देता है कि ये जो osteotomy का base है हमने यहाँ पे रखा है, ये कितना सेंटीमीटर्स का हमें को ओपन करना है. So here you just multiply the diameter of the bone. So this is the osteotomy site. So wherever you have planned the osteotomy, you are supposed to measure the diameter of the bone in this coronal plane on the X-ray. You're supposed to multiply by 0.02 and the angle of correction that you want. Suppose you want 20 degrees of correction to get your knee straight. So here you put all these values and then you get what width you have to keep at this osteotomy base here. Okay, तो ये width कितनी होनी चाहिए ओपन करने के बाद ये पता लग जाता है. You will realize that mostly tibia is 57 mm wide at this point. Here you plan the osteotomy, and here every 1 degree correction would mean 1 mm base length. कि अगर हमें 20 डिग्री करेक्ट करना है तो 2 सेंटीमीटर का ये डिस्टेंस होना चाहिए जनरली. So this is that formula turns out to be. There are some other recommendations also like Jacob and Jacobi. वो क्या कहते हैं कि ये जो कार्टिलेज लॉस है मीडियल साइड का, ये डिसाइड करेगा कि हमारी मैकेनिकल एक्सेस कहाँ जाएगी. हर केस में 62.5% नहीं लेना. ज्यादा कार्टिलेज लॉस है तो और लेटरल ले जाओ, और लेटरल ले जाओ. These kind of things, leave it. Just remember that this is how you calculate the alpha angle. 62.5% coordinate पे line लेके आनी है. Okay, and even if you want to be more simpler, the width at that base, to cross check yourself, you can always apply this Koshino formula, diameter into 0.02 into the angle of correction. So measure this width of the tibia. If it is 57, no need to apply the formula. One match कर जाएगा. Whatever angle you want corrected, उतनी wedge आएगी, उतने millimeters की यहाँ wedge आएगी. Okay. Otherwise, you can always apply this formula also to get the that opening on the medial side. Clear enough? So I hope everyone is still here with me. यहाँ तक सारी चीजें समझ में आ गई? Yes, guys. So may I have your comment in the chat box? How to find that correction? समझ में आ गया? Anush says yes. Other people in the class, I know I'm a little fast because there's so many things to be talked of in this lecture. Yes, Ram says yes. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Ujjwal, yes. Nishant says yes. Wonderful, wonderful, wonderful. Okay, so done. Just small. Yeah. So you're clear with this. You're clear with this. Wonderful. Okay. All right. Now, as I told you, there will be some changes in the tibial slope that will happen. So when you do the closing wedge technique, there is closing of the tibial slope, decreasing tibial slope. And when you do the opening wedge technique, there is opening of the tibial slope. This is how I remember. कि closing wedge में tibial slope कम हो जाती है, opening wedge में tibial slope naturally बढ़ जाती है. This is another restriction to that 20 degree only that can be corrected by STO in our case of a varus knee. Okay, because simultaneously changes आते ही आते हैं, they are unpreventable. The idea is to accept the tibial slope that is original, कि ना change हो. वो कैसे ना change हो मैं ये भी बताऊंगा. Okay, but हाँ, अगर तुम्हें लग रहा है तुमने एक्सरे क्लिक किया टेबल पे, your tibial slope has crossed 10 degree, then do that tibial tubercle osteotomy at shoulder dual plane to correct the tibial slope. Never accept a slope more than 10 degrees because high slope will lead to that ACL strain, and ACL intactness is a prerequisite for STO. ACL fail हो जाएगा, दूसरे कंपार्टमेंट में चेंजेस आ जाएंगे, whole surgery will fail. How to maintain the tibial slope? Yes. you make sure that the anterior gap at the medial opening wedge osteotomy should just be 1/2 of the posterior medial gap. तो posterior side पे osteotomy ज्यादा ओपन होगी, anterior पे कम ओपन होगी. I've already told you how to calculate the posterior gap. वो कैसे width calculate करनी है, modified Cosino formula. Okay, that Cosino formula is actually based upon something called law of triangles. Actually, physics make law of triangles describe that. This is a table from that law of triangles only. Okay, so इसी से वो Cosino formula simplify होके बना है. Like just see, suppose you find your tibia to be like 60 mm wide at that osteotomy point, middle open wedge का है, and you feel कि मुझे 11 डिग्री की करेक्शन चाहिए. So can you see 11 बेस ऑफ वो वेज का बेस भी, ये भी 11 होना चाहिए, 11.64 उतना ही आ गया ना. मैंने बताया था 57 mm टिबिया पे ऑलमोस्ट उतना आ जाता है, 1:1. ओके, सो दिस इज लाइक विड्थ ऑफ टिबिया, टिबियल विड्थ. सो इस टेबल से भी कैलकुलेट कर सकते हो इफ यू डोंट वांट टू यूज द Cosino formula. Otherwise you can use the simplified modified Cosino formula. So you know from that Cosino formula what should be this gap at the posterior medial cortex. Anterior gap has to be half of it. Only then will you be able to maintain the normal tibial slope. Normally क्या होता है, it is very difficult to measure these two gaps, compare them. बिल्कुल पीछे बिल्कुल आगे. We are generally concerned the gap at the plate side. So whatever gap you will keep here, try at least जहाँ plate लगा रहे हो वहाँ 3 to 4 mm कम gap. This is a local variation kind of a method. And yes, please remember कि अगर ये proper gaps maintain नहीं होंगे ना, every 1 mm of gap change will lead to change in 2 degree of tibial slope. So try reciprocating, reproducing this thing that your posterior gap should be double of the anterior gap. So in this way, you'll be able to maintain the ideal tibial slope. You have done it. You are unable to maintain the slope. Do the dual pillar osteotomy to correct the tibial slope, provided your slope is going beyond 10 degrees. So that is the message on tibial slope. The message on the patellar height. Now, when you are going to do a closing wedge osteotomy, the tubercle will move up. So patella will move up. So here patella alta will be a part and parcel. But if you do this opening wedge osteotomy, you are moving the tibia down because you are cutting proximal to the tuberosity. Metaphyseal bone काटनी है, हम ऊपर काट रहे हैं. So when you open up the wedge, the tibial tubercle moves down. So patella baha will be an accompaniment of the medial opening wedge. Normally, they don't create much problems. If you ask me which is the more problematic version of the two, it is patella alta. Now just understand, when you start flexing the knee, first 30 degrees of flexion, that patellar centering is maintained by MPFL. When you cross 30 degree, patella comes down from a top position and engages into the trochlea. So beyond 30 degree of flexion, patella has to engage in the trochlea. Now when patella is higher, it does not engage in the trochlea as knee flexion crosses 30 degree because patella higher level pe hai, and now the patella dislocates and tracking is affected. So patella alta is a dangerous thing. So that's why I told you this happens with the lateral closing wedge osteotomy. So that is why this patella baha that is created by the middle opening wedge osteotomy is actually a good thing. Getting it? So you need not do anything in middle opening wedge osteotomy much for the patellar height. It is a positive change only that you can mostly accept. But as I told you that you do not correct beyond 20 degrees. So उतना तो move ही नहीं करते टिबिया को, ये significant changes हो. So this is a point that's to be kept in mind. Practically, it won't be a troublesome factor. Clear enough? But I hope now you've understood how patella alta is patella baha is a positive factor in medial opening wedge osteotomy. So it comes in one of the advantages of medial opening wedge over the lateral closing wedge technique.